none of us have ever seen a situation in the White House as we see today. Everyone knows something is off. I'm not here to spout and tell you exactly what's wrong with Biden. I don't know. But I can see something's wrong with the gentleman. He's having some trouble of some kind. And yet we have to masquerade along. It's a little bit of the emperor's new clothes syndrome. And to say that America has never been through something like this is the truth. Those are statements, Vance, that you and I heard when we were kids, and you think, oh, no. But now we somewhere we haven't been.
You know, you talk about the emperor's new clothes. I think, and you think about CNN or Fox or any of these major news outlets, I think that we look at those anchors and we think, oh, that's a journalist. And really what we should see is that's an actor. They've been handed a script. They are saying the things that they're paid to say. If they say anything other than the lines that are on that piece of paper, then they're going to take that actor out and put a new one in there. And I think that like we're under some spell or some delusion. I think when people go to write the history of what this time was, they're going to be like, why did all the people sitting in their individual houses believe that the people on these big screen televisions were telling them the right things or things that would help them or things that were correct? Like, there's this weird relationship that we have with the big faces on the television that I think our children or our children's children are going to think was totally insane.
Right. I can't imagine, right? I can't imagine, Vance, if we could bring back the curmudgeon H.L. Mencken, if we could bring back Mencken today and say, hey, give us your opinion on what's going on. Or we could resurrect Chris Hitchens.
I don't know H.L. Mencken. Who is that?
He was a journalist that was, his tongue was a rapier, and he would hammer everyone. He would meet you, Vance, and slice you up, dice me up, and then turn and who's next? That kind of he was the a-hole's a-hole, but he was the a-hole to the level of where you would actually admire him because he was consistently contrary. Right? You know what I'm talking about. Maybe you've worked with someone like this. At first, you think they're a jerk, and they are, but then you realize they're a jerk every single day, every minute. So, okay. I can depend on that. It's very dependable. I can get along with that person. I can get along with the devil if I know how they're going to act. But H.L. Mencken, same thing. And I lost my train of thought, but I mentioned, Christopher Hitchens. If we could bring Hitchens back today and say, what's your opinion on the status of the media? We've always depended on the media in this country in a free society for good things. And that is the media supposed to make our politicians toe the line. That role has been abdicated. And because that role has been abdicated, we live in somewhat of a political fantasy, whereas no one wants to say, again, that the emperor has new clothes. Just go. You don't have to get on YouTube, and you don't have to see the news much. We've seen it. The mention of George Soros. Hey, stop. You're not going to mention George Soros live on air, or at least you're not going to denigrate him live on air. That's actually the situation that we live in today. It is, again, how many times have I said this word? Unprecedented. I must have used that word 4 or 5 times so far in the conversation, and I stand by that use.
I think that right now there is a proliferation of content where people can find different ideas. But the biggest thing that I think people should be focusing on, you brought up the point of being active in your local politics or understanding what's going on in politics, but it is the distribution of good ideas, right? Like if you know somebody that you think, man, that guy has really good ideas, you better find a way to make it so that guy's good ideas can get directly to you, that it does not have to be routed through another network like YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or any of those things, because the biggest challenge of having new content, things that are not playing by the standard rule, is the distribution game. And the reason that CNN and Fox have so much power It's not because their commentators are brilliant. It's because they have the chains of distribution. And so I'm becoming very focused on how can you distribute content? How can you get people to sign up to your email lists? How can you use RSS feeds? How can you be as connected to the people that are delivering you information as possible? Because in a second, it could be blinked out, and it can be blinked out in a way that you can't tell it's being blinked out, that you can't tell that it's being blocked from you.
Vance, it's, what you say ties into something else. I agree with every word you just stated. The debt we've got, what is it now? I don't even know the latest number. Something outrageous. 30 trillion? Ballpark? What's going to happen with not just the privatization of media, for someone like yourself being able to get their message out? I personally believe we are headed for the privatization of money. The state we were at 300-400 years ago. And I think Bitcoin is a sign of that. And I think everything you said, you flip it over and you can see the privatization of money there. And you look at these government debt of 30 trillion. What happens if we end up with far more than Bitcoin that is successful? And, you start scratching your head on this stuff, but it really does look like this is what is coming down the pipe. I know this, that the media that we have today will change rapidly over the next, not 60, 75, over the next 10 years. Look at, let's go back to the year 2000, just to the year 2000, right? What are the big media companies? AOL, Yahoo? They're still around, but come on, right? So just the idea that Amazon will be in control in 10 years or 20 years, whew, I don't think so, Vance. The pieces are moving on the board, man.
Yeah, I do think there's something to be said for, we do start to get the sense that the media players or the large companies that are around right now will always be around. I imagine if you went back 30 or 40 years, you'd say GM will be there forever. Nothing will ever knock them out, or Ford. And when I see the products that Facebook, for example, is putting out, they're dead. They're done. The only reason they've been able to have growth is because they've continued to buy things. They have a giant war chest, but eventually that breaks up. So I have hope in that regard, except for if we start making rules that say you've got to fulfill these regulatory requirements in order to be a social media channel, or we have to be able to see what your people are sharing in here. And so therefore we need some, government bureaucrat here, because to me, it's just like the farm subsidy situation. You can really instantiate the exact situation that's going on right now if you just add more regulations in. And people think regulations are going to help them stop the boogeyman, when really it just makes the boogeyman not have any competitors.
Vance, it gets back to the old sacred cow, man.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you like this interview, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you always get notified about this podcast. And if you're really interested in conversations like this, you may want to consider joining the Articulate Ventures Network. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.